So right after the fight came out, I was like, hold up. Everybody's acting like this was the craziest, biggest, most insane upset in combat sports history. How could this possibly happen? This is unbelievable. Nobody could have guessed it. Nobody could have called it. Nobody could have ever seen this coming. I was like, hold up. I said that he was going to beat him.
Look at what Pereira did to Adesanya. And I think that's why Pereira said what he said about Strickland. Because Strickland's kind of like kind of dumb, you know? He probably fights like a caveman, we could say. And I think that's the reason why he could beat Adesanya. And I don't know if you guys heard when Pereira said this. He said that he believes that Strickland has a better chance of beating Adesanya than Du Plessis. And look, I know whether he means it or not, and they're homies, and he's probably just trying to make Adesanya mad for having the nerve to even say such a thing. I don't know. But even if he wasn't meaning that, I could see that. And the reason why is the same reason Pereira beat him. And it's the same reason Gastelum did as well as him as he did. Because if you fight Adesanya and you have like a high fight IQ, and you're a really smart dude, and therefore will tend to be apprehensive and hesitate here and there because you're trying to be, you know, just like Nogano and Lewis. Well, then Adesanya's gonna pick you apart from a distance. But if you're like a dummy, if you go in there like Strickland or like Pereira did, just like Pereira hit hard and I'm just gonna try to take his head off. And how Strickland was like, I'm just gonna go in there and punch him in the face. I'm just gonna punch him. And Strickland's not gonna go in there with any kind of fight IQ. He's not gonna go in there doing some groundbreaking stuff. He's just gonna literally try to punch his head off. And it's that kind of unorthodox pressure that throws off someone like Adesanya. Because he's used to being able to pick apart dudes because they respect him enough and or are scared of him because of how talented of a fighter they know he is. So when someone just goes in there swinging like a rock'em sock'em, that actually is a hard time for Adesanya. Strickland all day. We underdogs in here. I think I might become a gambler just to become a thousandaire when Strickland wins.
But then there was another subsection of people that were like, hey, you called it, you knew he was gonna win, but I feel like you're disrespecting Strickland. I feel like you're calling him dumb and you're saying that he doesn't have a fight IQ and all that, and I'm actually gonna tag Strickland because I want him to spar you. Sean Strickland is always even saying of himself, like, you know, I'm dumb, you know, I'm not Einstein, you know, I spar every day and that's why I think the way I do, you know, I'm just everyday average Joe, you know, I don't even, you know, do this, or I just like to fight. So he says that of himself, but even having said that, I'm not justifying saying that he's dumb because that's not even what I was trying to get across. Like, the whole purpose of this video that I'm making right now is to express that Sean Strickland is not as dumb as he looks. Something that you got to acknowledge, which is very frustrating. Some people were actually having the nerve to say that this is the way that Sean Strickland always fights. Chale. I know that there's a resemblance there, and I know he's always got the stamina, and I know that he's always moving forward, and I know that he's always doing that man dance and whatnot, and I know that he's always trying to lead with the jab, but he was a different Sean Strickland. This fool had evolved. He was different after having worked with Pereira, and that's something that you got to give him credit for right now, because Adesanya, after that fight with Pereira, he's like, yeah, we should train together. We should train together. I think that we should do that, you know, trying to play that humble thing. Yeah, we should be friends now. Do we just become best friends? There's so much room for sparring together now. We should train together. But he didn't do it. He just wanted drama at the airport. But Sean Strickland got knocked out by him, and then he's like, we should train together. And then Pereira's like, yes, we train. And then the next day, Sean Strickland's in the dojo with him, and he actually trained with them. He actually did the Rocky and Apollo Creed. They were on the beach with the little shirts and everything. And it's like Strickland's corroboration with Pereira is what allowed him to get into that next. Strickland in this fight finally started fighting the way that he talks. I remember saying a fight or the last couple fights, whatever, I don't remember what it was. He had like a real boring fight that he's lucky he won because you never know what the judge is, and then another fight that he won but they said he lost. And I remember being frustrated because I've been a Strickland fan for the longest. That's another thing I want to point out in this video. I know he gets a lot of criticism and a lot of drama around him because a lot of the stuff he says, and you know, he's always like kind of pushing the boundaries and stuff like that. I personally haven't heard anything that he said that's incorrect. I just like that he's unapologetically authentic. Like, no matter who he is, like if Adesanya was like that and he was like the annoying fool but authentic, then I'd get it. But Adesanya's like a chameleon. You know that he's just saying it because he wants to be in with those people or with that people, and he wants to be liked by them, but he wants to be feared by them, and he wants these people to think he's cool, and he wants those people to hate him. You know what I found out that was trippy the other day? There was a interview where he was dissing Chinese people. This is old, but I'm just saying, like, he's already turned his back on these people. Back in the day, he was taking their money. He had that interview with Ariel. He's like, yeah, it was basically like I was on the Lakers. They're paying me all this money. Now I'm with them. And then he went after the fact that he's like, yeah, they didn't, these little people were calling me Kobe Bryant, and like he was like making fun of him and stuff like that.
Look at me in the big black guy in the mainland of China, and these all the little people like, oh, basketball. Like they kept on looking like Kobe Bryant, like they come up to you, take photos.
And then I realized the other day when I was watching a video, I was up at like 4 a.m. and I forgot what I was doing. I was watching like this commentary video on YouTube about Rush Hour Part 2. Because that's my life right now. And there was this moment where Chris Tucker was walking on the stairs and some Chinese lady called him Kobe Bryant.
Kobe.
And I was like, Adesanya was lying! That didn't even happen! That fool stole that from Rush Hour 2! And finally that fool's fans, which I don't even know how he got any. His first fight in the UFC, he was peeing in the cage. Before and after the fight, he was pretending. What kind of person is gonna watch a UFC event and on someone's debut, they're peeing all over the cage and they're like, I want to root for that guy? But finally, I'm starting to see his fans in the comment section. Like, I was rooting for him. I felt bad for him. I was a fan, and I was riding with him, and he was my favorite fighter. But now this. But now that. But now I'm starting to see this. But now I can't stand that. But now this is so pathetic. But now I can't hang with this any longer. And if I'm gonna give Adesanya anything, it's gonna be that, you know, he was bullied a lot as a kid. And he was in that vulnerable position. I mean, that's messed up when you're a little kid. And then, supposedly, he came from this wealthy family that has servants and whatnot. Typically, I'm just going to say typically. I know it's not the same in every situation. But typically, when you're in a family so wealthy that you got servants, there's a good chance your parents are going to be garbage. Like, there's times when I'm listening to like a podcast or an interview or some different thing with like celebrities and actors and musicians or whatever. They're like, yeah, you know, this last weekend, my wife had to go to this event and, I was home with the kids. We didn't have any help. It was during the weekend. Everybody was off. And I'm like, anyhow, they're your kids, fool. You're acting like you're babysitting your own children. Unfortunately, it's just kind of like a thing. A lot of the time, not all the time, when you're in that wealthy type of position, it's like you're doing those things that got you that wealth. And you're trying your best to sustain and maintain it. And you're like, hey, kid, can you be happy? We're rich. We made a lot of money so that you could have a good place to live and servants. So could you please be happy with that? We gave you money. I don't know why you're acting like you also need my love. So here, take $20 and go buy another toy or something. So this fool's getting bullied and beat up and everything at school. He can't go home and tell his parents because they're not there. They're working. They're hobnobbing, they're schmoozing, they're networking. He can't tell the servants because they got like 10 other kids that they got to go house to house cleaning and stuff like that. They can't form those kind of emotional relationships because they're working on their resume. They're trying to do the next thing. They don't even want to be there. They're probably bullying him too. But like, I remember homies back in the day when I was in school that would get bullied pretty hard. And they always had like that identity crisis. It was always the bullied kids. They were always trying to figure out how could I make people like me? How could I fall in with the right crowd so that everything will be fixed? And so they were like, oh, okay, I'm going to be the athlete. And then, okay, so I'm gonna be the greaser. Okay, oh no, so I'm gonna be the emo kid. Okay, no, so I'm gonna be the theater kid. Oh no, okay, so I'm gonna be a gangster. Okay, so I'm gonna hang out with the girls now, and so I'm gonna be I'm gonna ditch every class now. I'm gonna be a weightlifter now. It's always like this. Like, who am I? And they're always just trying to figure out what group of people is gonna accept me. It's messed up. And like, the ironic thing about it is Adesanya wants so badly to be accepted and for people to love him. And because of that, he tries so hard to execute on certain things in certain ways that it comes off as too much. And people end up hating him. And on the other side over there, you got Sean Strickland. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I'm going to be myself. And I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to speak my mind. And I'm going to be real. And I'm going to be authentic. And even if people don't agree with him, that's what makes them love him. The funny thing is that both fighters didn't respect each other. Adesanya didn't respect Strickland enough to see as plain as day, just like everybody else. I don't understand it. I thought it was an easy pick that Strickland was gonna win. It couldn't have been more obvious to me. But the fact that Adesanya, along with like 99% of the people watching right now, the fact that they thought that Adesanya was actually gonna pull the level of disrespect towards Sean Strickland, just like not watching any of his fights ever, and clearly seeing that his style is the worst matchup for Adesanya. I can't even understand it. And Strickland didn't respect Adesanya in that I'm not gonna fall for these feints. I'm not gonna fall for this. Oh, you have this many defenses, or you this fighter of the year, or this many knockouts, or you beat these names. Like, he didn't care, and he just kept moving forward. Strickland just kept coming forward with that man dance, which a lot of people thought Adesanya would be very familiar with. But instead, that fool was like, I'm never gonna dance again. But what I didn't talk about, which I think he needs to get a lot of credit for, is his blocking capabilities. And I think it makes sense that he was thanking his dad after the fact, because I think that's muscle memory. He knew that those punches were coming before Adesanya even knew he was gonna send them. It was crazy. It was like I was watching something from the Matrix. The way that fool was just reading everything beforehand. It's like, you know, you think of like those moments when he was a little kid and his dad was like, dang, get the thing, get the thing, get the thing. And he's just, it's like his dad turned Sean into like a little blocking prodigy. It's almost like if he loved him so much. I'm not saying if you want your child to be a UFC champion that you should follow in his footsteps, but I'm not gonna tell you not to. I remember when I was a little kid, my sister had a friend that had a little brother, and he was a few years younger than me. He always wanted to fight with me, and I remember telling my sister, that fool's strong. Like, I would still kick his butt and whatnot, but I was like, I didn't expect him to be that strong. Like, that fool's like a little beast. And she's like, well, his dad beats him. And at the time, I didn't realize how that could be fortuitous. I do think that it was disgusting and pathetic that Adesanya didn't stay in the cage to do an interview, because you know if he would have won, it would have been different. I was watching some MMA channel. I don't want to say the wrong channel. It was one of those news channels. There was a thing of how Adesanya was saying, oh yeah, I paint my nails. You want to make fun of me because I paint my nails? I'm gonna knock you out with these nails, and I'm gonna show you these nails, or something like that. He was gonna do a TikTok dance. He was gonna do all this stuff, but that's not what ended up happening. He said, Chale. He wasn't going to stick around and show any sportsmanship or anything like that. It was only going to be if he won. Man, that fool would have went. He would have got so ugly. Oh, man, he probably would have done. And look, you got to consider all the things that he did in the past. Remember, he went pee-pee in the ring on his very first fight. His very first fight. There was even no animosity or nothing like that. He went pee-pee. He was going at that other fight in Australia. He was he sensually assaulted Paulo Costa and his coach. He did like a gesture that I'm not gonna do right now to Adesanya's coach. Then he was like breakdancing and spinning on his head and everything. He was shooting arrows. He was pretending like he was dead for the little kids. He did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of dumb stuff, and I feel like this fight would have probably been the worst one. But nah, he had to dip out of there like if he was Kobe Covington. And I think it was beautiful what Sean Strickland said. Like, Strickland is this guy saying the most crazy things. He gets like the best interviews with the Schmo. With Schmo and Hallin, it's like the best. Like, those are the best MMA interviews that you're gonna find. The best chemistry right there. But he says the most insane stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people thought if and when he beat Adesanya that he was gonna say the craziest stuff, but no, humble in victory. And then he's like, I don't even care about this bout. This isn't what it's about. It's how you live your life and all that kind of stuff. And I know that this is kind of like maybe out of bounds a little bit, but I even want to say that I just want to talk about his personal life and the way he runs his life for a little bit. It even extends to his lady, because his lady came into the cage and she looked like such a nice, respectable lady. And I was like, look at like. You take what he was saying right there about it's how you live your life, it's the good kind of person you are, and the kind of things you do. Forget about all this stuff, just be a good dude. And then his lady came in the cage, and most of the time when fighters, ladies come into the cage, they look like they're trying to promote their OnlyFans. I'm just telling it like it is. But his lady came into the cage, and it's like, that's like the full, that's like, I can't talk to you right now. That's like the full, like, he's for real. He's for real. He's saying what he means. He means what he says. His lady's in there, and it's like, it's the full, like the whole visual is like, I mean, this is the Brady Bunch right here, except for maybe a little more like Leave It to Beaver. Dana White wants a rematch. which I'm only gonna excuse if it's 100% transparent, only business, just because of the UFC cover thing. If you're the president or whatever he is of the UFC and you put out a brand new game and you want a bunch of people to buy it, and the fool that's on the cover just got embarrassed and you're like, hey, this is a money move, I gotta get this guy back in there, then I understand that if it's just business. But other than that, it's disgusting. It doesn't make any sense. Somebody said that Adesanya is the only UFC champion ever in history to lose the belt 2 times in 1 year. I don't know if that's true. I was Googling it like crazy. I could not find the answer, and I couldn't remember where in the event or after the fight that was said. Can you let me know if that's true? But he's been on the decline. People figured him out a long time ago. It's just that they don't want to end up on that highlight reel. So they're too apprehensive. And they're like, okay, I know what to do, but I'm gonna do it right now. Okay, oh, but he did a feint. Okay, and his reach is so long. Okay, but I know what to do though. Like in theory, I know because okay, and then the 5 rounds are over. But it's not like Adesanya just won 15 fights in a row and now he deserves a rematch. He had just lost it. He just lost to Pereira. It wasn't that long ago. He just lost to Blachowicz. Now he lost to the dude, not me, but that everybody thought that he wasn't gonna lose to. So now that looks even more bad right now at this moment. And it wasn't a flash knockout fluke thing that people could write off and say blah 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 blah. It was outclassed over the entire fight. There's no questioning this. You gotta remember that Dana White power is absolutely about color. But it's the color green, homie.